Welcome to the Karen Kenney Show.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. I'm super duper excited to be here with you. If you're watching this episode, you can see the title of the episode right on my sweatshirt. So if you're not watching this, you can't see that my sweetie for Christmas got me a sweatshirt from one of my favorite artists. The artist's name is Batsy Head. You've probably heard me talk about him, her, them. We don't know. They never show a picture of themselves, only their artwork. Um, and I'm just obsessed with this person's artwork. I already have like several sweatshirts, and this one I wanted so bad, and it says "Hatching a Plan." And if you can see the little cat creature on it, he's got his little hands tucked up to his chin and his eyes are looking off like all squinty into the side, like he's hatching a secret plan. And that's how I kind of feel when I'm going into the new year, right? When we have an opportunity. And I think of our birthdays as personal New Year's. And then I think, of course, of the changing of the calendar as we roll back around into January. As another opportunity to have a fresh start, a clean slate. It's the perfect time to hatch a plan. So let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, I think you can hatch a plan anytime you want to, but very symbolically, right? And I know a lot of people will say, oh my God, but winter is the time for hibernation. Winter is the time for slowing down and being, to reflect on things and to be contemplative, to be kind of like to mull and to muse. And I agree with all of that. And that's the great thing about hatching a plan. It doesn't mean necessarily that like you're doing the plan. You're just kind of hatching the plan. So the great thing, so I wanted to like a lot of times when there's a phrase that I love to look it up and to see like what other sources say the definition is. And to hatch a plan means to make a plan, but it means to especially make a secret plan. This is what I love, right? To make a secret plan. And I want to talk about this aspect of it, especially as we're moving into the new year, because there is something that I have seen again and again and again in my lifetime, especially with creatives and artists and people and entrepreneurs, etc. People who are trying to do original things or unique things or to bring art into the world, bring ideas into the world, new ways of thinking into the world, right? It's really, really easy to unfortunately share your plans, share your dreams, share your ideas with others who do not have your best interests at heart. And it's not that they're dicks. It's that sometimes unconsciously, subconsciously, they have, whether it's low self-esteem, jealousy, envy, a lack of respect, whatever the thing is, right? Is that when you come to them with a dream or a plan or an idea, right? There may not be your balcony people. These may not be the people that really see you, get you, love you, understand you, cheerlead you, celebrate you, like encourage you. These might be people who, for their own reasons, sometimes known to them nefariously, sometimes unknown to them, patterned and conditioned from their history, they're not really going to treat your dreams, your ideas, your art, whatever you're sharing with them, your plans, with gentleness, with tenderness, with seeing that this is like a seed that's trying to be planted and it wants to take root and it wants to get some strength and it wants to grow. And so they'll come in with like either sarcasm or roll their eyes or like, who do you think you are to have this big dream? Or, why do you think, what makes you so special? Or this stinks or whatever, right? They give their opinions, they give their fears. Well, that's what let's get right down to brass tacks. That's what they're doing is they're really just kind of vomiting their fear, right? All over your idea, your plan, your dream. And this is why I love hatching, quote unquote, hatching a plan, is because when you hatch it, and especially hatch, right? Hatching a plan means to like make a plan, but usually in secret. And why that can be really great is I often encourage people not to talk about what they're going to do, to I always say you don't have to talk about it to like make it real. It can be between you and yourself. It can be between you and your spiritual team, you and your sweetie and your best friend, you and the divine, you and God, you and Holy Spirit, you and your internal teacher, whatever you want to say. But we want to put these things, these plans, right, in safe places, in safe spaces, in safe hands. Because a lot of times people unknowingly can just trample all over your dreams. And dreams have been stopped cold. I mean, cold, like in their tracks, by people who are not able to truly see you. And whether it's to see your potential, to see who you really are, to see your creativity and your brilliance and your genius. Remember the episode I did about how the brain has a negativity bias and it's always going to look for what's wrong. So even with the best of intentions, you could come to somebody and say, "This is my plan." And they're going to start saying all the things why that it's not going to work. And like I said, they think they're doing it out of love because they're trying to keep you safe and they're afraid and they want you to do a sure bet and they want to make sure that you're going to do something that's going to have a happy ending. But I mean, part of this isn't even about the outcome. It's about the process. It's about the creativity. It's about the experience. It's about learning as we go. But out of their own fear, right? They just kind of like I said, they just kind of throw up all their fear all over you. And then it will stop people's dreams. We've also seen it in schools with teachers who, can't see the creativity underneath maybe the bad spelling or the bad grammar or whatever. And they take that red pen and they just red pen the dreams out of kids. They just kill these creative darlings like with their criticism and with their desire to be a know-it-all, or sometimes they're just jealous because they didn't go after their own dreams and they take it out on the people who are bold enough and brave enough and ballsy enough and have enough chutzpah to say like, yeah, I'm going to go for this thing. So this is the thing about hatching a plan. I can't stress this enough. If you're going to talk about it, make sure you're talking about it in safe places. And we just know that in brain science, right? So some of you may know that I'm a certified gateless writing instructor. And one of the ways that we do gateless or give gateless feedback, which to me, gateless is really just a way of showing love and extending love, breathing life into the creative impulse and the genius of people. So the way that we give feedback in Gateless is really different than how typical, quote unquote, typical feedback is giving, whether it's in writing or in life, right? We know through brain science that criticism, that inner critic, that voice, and the voice of external critical voices can kill creativity. It will stop you dead in your tracks. And so we want to focus on what is really exciting about this plan. And so we want to put it into the hands of the people who have the ability to truly see you. And even if they don't quite get it, because maybe your plan is beyond their scope, or is it like my sweetie sometimes can come to me and he can show me things musically and I can hear it and know what I like. But if he tried to break it down and say like, "Oh, I'm playing these chords and I'm doing this and I'm moving from this chord to that chord and these notes to that," like my brain just goes like, "Oh, what?" But I can hold the space for him and celebrate him and cheerlead him and, encourage his craft and his creativity and his genius. But so you don't always have to talk about your plans, especially when you're hatching a plan. It's sometimes best to keep things a little secret. And I kind of like that. I kind of tend to be the kind of person that will do a thing or start to do a thing or I'm in a thing and then I let people know. I don't always like to do a ton of like behind the scenes first and like all this stuff. Like I know that people love to see a process in action. I'm not saying you should never do that. There's just certain times I think when it's good to keep your plans close to your chest, especially if you're not in an environment where you can know that your dreams and your visions and these plans that mean so much to you, that have a lot of meaning and purpose to you, are not going to be held with tenderness and care and celebration. Okay, now The other thing is I wanted to look at the word hatch because I think this is really fascinating too. And I'm going to tie this all together with the spiritual principle in a moment. So just stay with me, okay? Because I've been thinking about this for a while. So I love that the idea hatch traditionally is kind of used when you think about hatching, like little animals that are hatching, right? Whether it's little chicks coming out of a shell, it's like something needs to break in order to allow this like young creature, this young little precious animal to like come out. And I think that's what we're kind of doing too with our plans and our dreams and our hopes, is especially as we're moving into a new year, is there are things inside of us that are trying to hatch. There might be some things that have been gestating for a long time, like you've been pregnant with an idea or a book or a song or a business opportunity or whatever the thing is, right? An invention, a new way of thinking or being, and you've been kind of hibernating with this and gestating this, and it's been growing inside of you. And now this thing is about to break free and like come out into the world. And imagine if we used a hammer to try and help that chick come out of the shell. Like that will not end well. And this is what I'm talking about. Like we want our creativity and our ideas and our plans to be fostered in environments where those seeds can take root and germinate and get good light and good water and good nurturing and nourishment so that it can grow. And that includes you. It's just not just external people. It's about how you're watering, how you're pouring into, how you're nurturing that thing. And this requires a little bit of discipline, right? And us being willing to commit to our plans and to not do it all wishy-washy. Because you've heard me say before that the universe cannot get behind wishy-washy. We want to have some clarity, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. Another way of looking at a hatch, right, is an opening, like it's an escape hatch. And this can be like through a wall or a floor. And back in the old days, they would talk about like service hatches, like an opening where you could serve through. And I really think about this in our creativity, in our artistry, in our work, and what we're doing in the world. It is a way to hatch, to bring something through, to be the portal that something can break through and serve through. I think that this is fascinating. And sometimes what we're breaking through is old ways of being, old ways of thinking, old ways of thinking about ourselves, sometimes our talents and abilities, sometimes other people and our relationships, and sometimes the world. So I think when we're hatching a plan, there's an opening for something new to take place, something divine and creative to flow through you. And for you to be in service in a way that feels both purposeful and meaningful to you, but also brings something into the world that other people might find helpful or entertaining, or gives them guidance or creates purpose, right? Whatever. The act of creativity first serves us. And then if it lands out into the world in a greater way, that's amazing. I mean, even just think about this podcast. When I do this podcast, if it wasn't fun for me, if the process wasn't in some way purposeful or meaningful, or I didn't have fun doing it, I wouldn't do it. The fact that you guys listen, and I hear from some of you that it's very helpful, that to me is like the bonus. That's the cherry on top, right? So being able to create to be a hatch, to be an opening in the world, I think is pretty cool too. And also sometimes when we're hatching a plan, when we think about a hatch, we think about it as an escape hatch. That's another way of looking at hatches, as a way to escape. And I think sometimes we need to hatch plans to get away from old ways of being, or maybe to get away from old relationships or old jobs or gigs that are no longer serving, or whatever it is, an old habit, an old addiction, an old thought system, an old pattern, whatever it is. I think having a hatch to be able to escape through in a positive way can be a very powerful thing. Okay. So let's now that we've talked about the word hatch, let's talk about the word plan. And this is where kind of the spiritual piece comes into this a little more deeply. So I just want to first and foremost say this, that I'm a person that is like all for going with the flow of things. I think sometimes, I'm a wicked planner. Like I love to plan. More on that in a second. But there are people who are just like, I'm just going to go with the flow and like, we'll figure it out when we get there. And they like to be really spontaneous and whatever. And I get that. I really get that. And and I think it can be beautiful. I think that, but the thing that I often say is discipline leads to freedom. And what I mean by that is there's a difference between having no plan and just winging it and then crossing your fingers and hoping that there's an outcome that like is good. And then there's a time and a place when to have a plan, right? To be disciplined enough to sit down and practice your thing and repeat a thing. And so it's in you. And that's what I often say, like discipline leads to freedom. It's the discipline first, that planning first, that then allows me to be spontaneous with confidence. So there are people who just like to wing it and say, fuck it, last minute, we'll figure it out, no big deal. I like to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and then release myself to the intuitive or the creative or the spontaneous or the divine, intelligence experience, right? Because first I already know that I've put in the time, the energy, the effort. I know what I'm talking about, right? And then I can kind of stand in that and then open myself. I get the foundation is there. The plan is there. Doesn't mean things are going to go according to plan, but I can plan on my feet better when I've put some discipline, right, into the thing first. So I don't want to say like some people are like, oh, I don't like having a plan. Having plans is boring. Well, for some of us, I understand why that is, right? Our brains all work differently. Some people just like I said, they like to say, wing it, fuck it, truck it. It's all, we'll see what happens. Fuck around and find out, right? That's a huge motto of mine. But I'm able to to fuck around and find out because I have a little bit of stability and foundation underneath me. I also have a lot of faith. So that's another story for another time. Okay, coming back to the plan. There's a line in A Course in Miracles that I love that says, a healed mind does not plan. A healed mind does not plan. Now, let's talk about this for a little bit. It doesn't mean that you don't make a plan, right? It's really easy to interpret this. Oh, a healed mind does not plan. It's not saying don't have a plan. What it really means underneath all of this is that you can have a plan. You can make a plan. Just don't make it, quote unquote, all on your own. Because as I often say, if I just let my ego personality parts, now who I really am is not my ego and my personality parts. This is like a part of me. My true capital S self is often not the me that wants to make the plan, right? The me that I can sometimes think of myself to be. And we all do this, right? We all confuse who we are. Okay. So sometimes our ego personality is in charge and it's like, I'm going to come up with a plan. This is what I'm going to do. And this is how it's going to work. And this is going to be the outcome. Yeah. Have you met my life? Have you seen life and how it unfolds? Surprising me all the time. So it means that when we go to quote unquote plan, you have often heard me say the prayer many times that's adapted from A Course in Miracles, right? And I expand on it a lot in my own personal life. And sometimes it goes like this, right? Please have me go where you would have me go. So first of all, I'm asking for directions. Like literally, where do you want me to plant my ass? Where do you want me to go today? Where can I be most helpful and be in service to love, right? Where would you have me go? And then it says, please have me go where you would have me go. Please have me do what you would have me do. Okay. And then it goes, so like now that I'm in the place that you want me to go, please direct me to go where you would have me go. Please direct me to do what you would have me do in service to love, in service to the best possible outcome for all, which how could I possibly know what that is with my very limited capacity, right? But there is something within me, which I call an internal teacher, which A Course in Miracles can call an internal teacher, Holy Spirit, you call it whatever you want to call it, right? Some people might call it intuition, instinct, whatever, divine intelligence, okay? So there's a part of me that is in communion with the beloved, that is in communion with the divine. Call it communion with God or the universe or love or source or the creator. I don't care what you higher power, right? Okay, there's a part of me that is in communion with that. And I'm asking that part of me to please help me get the fuck out of my own way. To please not let Vicky with 2 kids from Lawrence to be driving the bus all the time. Okay. So part of this is have me go where you would have me go. Have me do what you would have me do. Have me say what you would have me say. Like use my tongue, use my words, right? And to whom? Who do you want me to say it to? Please give me the wisdom to know when to speak. When I do speak, what encouraging or loving words can I say? And when to shut the fuck up, to zip it, to just, right? I always say, you guys have heard me say before, right? Why be an asshole when you can just be quiet? Right? Okay. And then I also will add, have me be who you would have me be. And then I say, please use me, please use me, please use me. So even though on the mortal plane, right, we kind of got to have a plan. It looks like I got to wake up at this time. I'm going to do my DSP, my daily spiritual practice. I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to, get on, like work out, go for a walk, whatever you're going to do, right? This is when I have this meeting. I got to pick up my kids. I got to feed the dog. I got to walk, whatever you're doing. We got to have plans, right? We got to know kind of what's going on. But I don't want those plans to be made by the part of my brain that thinks. Humans think we're a lot smarter than we actually are. Humans think we know a lot more than we actually do. So I want something smarter than me directing, right? Guiding me, helping me make the plan. I don't want to, today I will make no decisions by myself, A Course in Miracles says. And I'm like, yeah, you know why? Because I will make no decisions by myself because I am now smart enough to know how much I don't know. And I can't possibly know what the best possible outcome is for myself and everybody else at all times. So I ask myself to be used in service to something greater, right? And part of this requires that I have some tools in my toolbox to quiet my mind enough, to get still enough, right? You know that old saying, be still and know, the old saying, it's from the Bible somewhere. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. I always break it down. Be still and know, right? Be still. Be. So in my beingness, when I get quiet enough, using tools to help the chatter of the ego mind, right? All that bip, 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 that constant noise. If we can dial it back, if we can turn down the volume so that a truer voice, right? The voice for God, the voice for love, the creative impulse can speak. And if I can listen to that and have the courage to take action on that, my plan is going to be a really different plan than if I'm just letting my fearful ego write the plan all on its own. And I think a lot of times when we go into the new year, this is what happens is that people make all these resolutions, these new year resolutions, but a lot of them are made out of fear and not necessarily out of love. We're looking at things through a lens of the ego lens. And it's really, really helpful, I think, to look at things through the spiritual lens, through the lens of love. And this is a really fun way to be able to do it. Because if you're like, hatching a plan like I am, right? Then like, we don't have to tell the world about it. And it's a really fun to hatch plans, but let's not hatch them on our own, right? Make no decisions by ourselves. I'm smart enough to realize that I don't want to make all my plans with my ego. I want to invite in something smarter. I ask my internal teacher, Holy Spirit, to please guide my thoughts, my words, my actions. Who would you have me be? How would you have me be? Please guide. I say this every day. Please guide my head, my heart, my hands, and definitely my big fat mouth. You know what I mean? So this can be a really powerful thing. And the other thing too, when you're hatching a plan, I wanna share this with you, is that while we can do this all mentally, like in our head, okay, that's great. That's fine. You might have the kind of mind you're like, I don't have to write things down, whatever. That's awesome. But writing things down is such a powerful thing because they did a study, right? Now, look, I know how studies go. I don't know the exact numbers of the participants, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you the outcome, though. They did a study of like a certain amount of people. It was a pretty good number of people. And I would think a psychologist, a woman psychologist did this, and she had the participants write down their goals. And at the end of the period of time, whatever it was, I don't know if it was 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it was, they found that people who wrote down their goals, because you're using a different part of your brain, PS, when you hand write down your goals, don't type them out first. If you want to type them up afterwards, that's fine. But first, get out a piece of paper, a pen, a pencil, whatever your favorite instrument is to write with. Hand write this down, what your goals are. People who write down their goals are 42% more likely to reach their goals. I mean, think about that. 42%. That is no small number, you guys. So I think it's worth a try. And the other thing that happens is when you write things down. So like imagine you were trying to get from here to California and you're like, we're just going to wing it. Like no GPS, no system for getting you across, no going to AAA and getting the AAA maps like back in the old day. Back in the day, you used to have to go to AAA and they would make you a map literally from point A to point B and you had to like follow the map. That was before the GPS systems and stuff like that, right? So, but imagine just kind of coddly-wopping your way across country, like might not end that well unless you have all the time and resources in the world. So we want to know, right, like where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. And when we write things down about our plan, when we're hatching a plan, right, it's going to help us get some more clarity and helping us to select maybe more specific things rather than just random things. So writing things down helps us to get more specific. It helps us to decide, make some choices, and it helps us to get clarity about what we want to do. So number one, that's like really fantastic. When you have things written down, what it also does is it helps you to keep your focus on the goal, to keep your eyes on the prize, as we like to say, because all throughout, like not even a year, never mind like a day, like all throughout a day, you might have a plan and then life has other plans. And it's really easy to get invited to things or to have people need stuff from you or whatever it is. And we want to be able to use this written down plan kind of as a way to like ping, 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 like put it almost like in a bubble or like a filtering system. So we can filter it through and say, okay, this plan that I have that is purposeful and meaningful and reflects my values and is what I'm trying to accomplish, right? This year or this week or whatever, this day. Is this thing going to detract me from it? So it's a really great way. You know, when they used to like mine for gold or shift for gold, they would they would take those sifters and anything, right? They were trying to look for the gold in a thing. So this is a way like a sifting process or a filtering process to make sure that it's helping you to stay like right on track with what you want to do. Okay. It'll also help you to overcome resistance. Now, I'm a big fan of Steven Pressfield. If you don't know who Steven Pressfield is, I have like, you can't see them, but they're all over there. I have like all of his books over there. And one of his books called Do the Work. He also wrote The War of Art, but one of his books, Do the Work. This is what we do. Writing things down is a way to really, really focus, which will help you to overcome resistance because every time that you come up with a dream, anytime you come up with something meaningful for you, if it is big enough, if it's a big enough dream, automatically the ego is going to create some sort of resistance to it. It's going to be like, who do you think you are to have this dream? You don't have the time. You don't have the resources. You're not smart enough, like whatever it is. But when you start to write things down and you look over at it and you look at it multiple times and you start to kind of get it set in your subconscious and you start to make it more real, because this is how we start to create new neural pathways and new neural connections, is we want to do something with repetition. because that resistance is going to be so strong. And so we will be able to kind of look at this goal, focus on the goal, see the goal in our mind, repetition, repetition, repetition with feeling, and it will help us combat that resistance a little bit more. Okay. Also, when you write things down, that's like a really great way that points to the next step, which is not just writing it down and keeping it all woo, like up in the ethereal. We want to bring it down to earth practically. And when we see something written down, we already have our instructions for the day. We're like, yep, this is what I'm doing. And now I'm going to take action. And that's a very powerful thing. A plan is just a plan until it's executed. And then it starts to become real. And then it starts to happen. And we take the next best step, the next smallest step to take action in the direction of your dreams. And when you review them regularly and you look at them, it will provoke you. It will inspire you. It will move you. It will shift something in you to maybe take the next step or action, which also helps us overcome resistance when you start to get a little momentum. Okay. The other great thing that writing something down does is it allows you to kind of track and see where your progress has been. It's like, oh, this is what I said I was going to do on this date. And look, I'm already here. So it's kind of like proof. It's like your plans can be like a love letter to your future self, because who you are now, if you just listen to, my episode that I just did, your life is a reflection. Your life currently is a reflection of who you've been. So if we're looking forward into a new year and how we want to be and who we want to be and where we want to go, those outcomes that they may not happen, but they're going to happen a hell of a lot more probably, right? If we write them down, we take them seriously, we hatch the plan, and then we do something about it. And if we keep reviewing it and we keep looking at it and we're like, okay, I'm going to like keep my eye on the prize, I'm going to like go for this thing, right? It's really going to help us be able to kind of see just what we've accomplished. And that's really exciting to be able to, how do I say this? To be a proactive participant in the celebration of your own plan. And you're like, I hatched this plan, but I didn't just hatch it alone. I hatched it with my spiritual team, with Holy Spirit, with, my intuition, my whatever. I made a plan. I hatched a plan, but I didn't make it by myself. And this is one of the ways that we get to serve and have a more meaningful, life, is when we're aligning also these plans with what we really care about and our purpose and why we're here and what we hope to do while we're here. And if those things, right, are not in alignment with who we really are and what really matters, like that's the first step. Part of hatching the plan, the first step is getting really clear. And I think that at the end of the year, one of the things that I always do, and I've talked about this in past episodes, that's why I didn't want to do another end of the year. So I kind of ask myself, what needs to stay? Like, what's the things or the people or the relationships or the habits or the patterns that are really helpful and positive and empowering? What needs to stay? What needs to go? Like, what's the bullshit that I'm done putting up with? What are the relationships that aren't working? What feels not reciprocal? What just feels like an energy suck and drain? Like, what am I ready to let go of? Old stories, old patterns, old habits, whatever. And then what do I want to grow? What do I want to expand on? What do I want to create? What do I want to hatch a plan around, right? That's kind of what this is all about. So let's do a little recap, okay? Hatching a plan, to make a plan, especially a secret plan. So remember, you don't have to blab out to the interwebs, on the internet, on social media, to everybody you know. Oh yeah, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to run a 5K. I'm going to da da da. Now, for some people, telling others is a great way that they use to stay accountable. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if you are going to do it, please make sure that you're sharing it with people who have tender hands, who have kind mouths, who don't just try to tear you down, or, those people can suck it in a bucket. Like, no, all set with that. So find your balcony people. If you haven't listened to that episode, I recorded it. I think it's called like balcony and basement people. Make sure you're not taking these tender dreams, these plans, and putting them with the basement people. Don't do that. Save yourself a lot of suffering. Oh my God. Okay, so what I was trying to say too earlier is it's okay to have a plan, right? But don't make the plan on your own, right? Make it with divine intelligence, make it with spirit, like ask for, get quiet. This is what a DSP is really powerful for, daily spiritual practice, helping to discipline the mind, to quiet the mind, because an undisciplined mind can accomplish nothing. And discipline allows us to have more freedom, even when we have a plan. It's really helpful. Think about this as an opening, right? Hatching a plan as an opening, and whether it's an escape hatch or it's something hatching and being birthed inside of you and it's breaking out of its shell and it's coming into the world, it's a beautiful thing. Remember, criticism can kill creativity. So again, we're going back to finding the people who will nurture and nourish and breathe life into you and support you as you're going after your dreams and your plans. Listen deeply internally. When you sit down to make this plan, write it down. Things that get written down tend to get accomplished 42% more, right? Clarify what you want, take action on what you want, use what you've written down as a filter to keep you on track. Reread with feeling, envision your dream, see your dream. It will help you to overcome resistance. And then make sure you take time to celebrate when your plans start to go according to plan. It can be a very powerful thing. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. A couple of things. If you are interested, I think this one's going to come out on like January 2nd or whatever. So I'm doing an online yoga class. That's my plan, is to start offering online yoga classes right here from my home. So you can tune in wherever you are, from the comfort of your living room, your comfort of your bedroom. Wear your PJs. I don't care, as long as you're not naked and you're decent. You know what I'm saying? You don't even have to turn on your camera. I prefer that you turn on your camera so I can see you, so I can help you to have a better experience. It's going to be a fantastic time. Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time, my time, for it's a 75-minute class. There'll be a bonus 15 minutes afterwards, optional if you want to stick around, for creating community or asking questions from 7:15 to 7:30. So 6 to 7:15 Eastern is the yoga class. And then there's bonus time after Shavasana once we come up to like hang out and talk and get to know the other people if you want to, or you just don't have to. It's just optional. It's a bonus. It's for fun. $15 a class. Just go to KarenKenney.com/yoga to sign up. We already have a bunch of people signed up. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I'd love to have you join us. And if anything that I was talking about today, right, this storytelling and spirituality of being able to take these tools and apply them to our daily life, this is what it's really all about, you guys. When we work in the nest, my group spiritual mentoring program, it really is a way of learning how to navigate the human experience from a more spiritual place so that we can do it with meaning and with purpose, with more love and with more peace, and having some really solid, applicable tools that you can use. And that's just KarenKenney.com nest. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Happy New Year. I hope it's a beautiful and abundant and joyous and wicked fun and creative, a year full of love and purpose and creativity and meaning and peace. And so wherever you go, may you leave yourself, the animals, the other people, the places you go, the planet, the environment better than how you found it. Wherever you go, may you be a blessing and spread more love in the world. Bye.